What's happening, everybody? Bob Wankel, CrossingBroad.com. NFL Conference Championship weekend is almost upon us, and come Sunday night, we will know which two teams will be playing for the right to hoist the Lombardi Trophy come next month. If you're looking to bet on this weekend's games, head over to CrossingBroad.com/DK, download DraftKings Sportsbook. They will give you a $500 risk-free first bet, and they will also match your first deposit up to $500. That's $1,000 of potential bonus offers. Also, be sure to check out FoxBet, CrossingBroad.com/FB. They'll give you $20 just for signing up and match your first deposit up to $100. All right, so these two teams got together back in late November. San Francisco got the best of Green Bay in that game, winning it by a 37-8 final. Are we going to have a different type of game this time around? Well, let's take a look here. Before we get into that, some things to know about the Green Bay Packers. They are 6-0 since that 37-8 loss back on November 24th. They earned the NFC's number 2 seed, knocked off Seattle to reach this game, have been playing better football down the stretch. One thing that the Packers will absolutely need to do in this contest is convert on third down. 37.79% this season, 19th in the NFL, and they were absolutely terrible on third down in the first meeting between these two teams. 1 for 15 overall. Aaron Rodgers, when he was on the field, 0 for 13. San Francisco defensive line was extremely disruptive in that football game, similar to what we saw against the Vikings last week. So Green Bay has to clean that up. And if they are to pull the upset in this one, they're going to have to continue the trend of executing in the red zone. The NFL's number 2 red zone offense in terms of converting touchdowns at 66%. San Francisco, meanwhile, not excellent at stopping teams inside the red zone. Number 20 in terms of limiting touchdowns once teams get inside the 20. Number 2 seeds, only 4-9 versus number 1 seeds in conference championship games going back to the 2003 season. So Green Bay will need to buck that trend in this one. As for the number 1 seed 49ers, you can make an argument that they are the most complete and balanced team left standing. You see here, San Francisco second in total defense this season, allowing just over 281 yards per game. 4th in total offense at 381.1 yards per game. I know that Aaron Rodgers is the superior quarterback. You're not going to get an argument from me on that one, but I will say this. Jimmy Garoppolo is 20-5 as a starter with the 49ers, and that's nothing to sneeze at. In terms of this San Francisco defensive line, you saw how deep it is, how versatile it is, and how relentless it is at getting after the quarterback. They were 5th in the NFL this season, totaling 48 sacks. They had 6 last week against Minnesota. If they can generate that type of pressure on Aaron Rodgers, it could be another long day for Green Bay, similar to what we saw back in late November. And again, just from a historical standpoint, since the 03 season, number 1 seeds are 17-5 in conference championship games, including a 12-1 record when favored by at least 4 points. Obviously, San Francisco more than a touchdown favorite in this game. So if history holds true, it's going to be San Francisco playing in Miami next month. All right, before we get to some betting trends and our recommended plays, let's take a look at the current odds in this football game. Green Bay opened as a 7-point underdog, total set at 45. Early action has pushed this spread up to 7.5 in favor of the 49ers. San Francisco minus 345 on the money line, total still sitting at 45 as we record this. If you like the Packers to win the football game straight up, plus 290 payout on Green Bay. All right, so let's take a look at some of the betting trends ahead of this game. Like we said, number 1 seeds are 17-5 in conference championship games, but they are only 12-10 ATS. So just because they win at a high rate doesn't necessarily mean that they cover at the same rate. They're also 6-7 ATS against number 2 seeds. Teams that won the previous head-to-head matchup by 14-plus points are only 13-22 ATS in playoff games after the wild card round, and only 1-7 against the spread in conference championship games. So this strongly points in favor of Green Bay coming back and playing a much more competitive game this time around. Also take a look here. Teams favored by 7 or more points, as San Francisco is, are only 25-37-1 ATS overall in the playoffs, and 15-30-1 ATS after the wild card round. 2-6 ATS in conference championship games. So the deeper that we get into the postseason, the less successful teams that are favored by 7+ points tend to be. So keep that in mind as well. Teams that are favored between 7 and 8 points exactly are 11-17-1 ATS in the postseason, 2-4 ATS in conference championship games. So I'm giving you a lot of numbers here that support a play on the Green Bay Packers. Something else to keep in mind, if that was not enough for you, postseason underdogs of 7+ points that are getting less than 50% of the public action are 27-13-1 against the spread, 26-1 ATS after the wild card round. That is outstanding play, outstanding trend, very strong, backing the underdogs in this contest. A lot of the early money on San Francisco, so keep an eye on that as the week progresses and we get into the weekend. And finally, Aaron Rodgers, 11-5-1 ATS in the postseason, 6-2-1 against the spread as an underdog, and 2-0 ATS as an underdog of at least 7 points. So he has also been, Aaron Rodgers, very successful in this spot. In terms of the total, my lean is that this thing is going to go over. And the over is 18-11-3 in conference championship round, including 10-5-2 when the total is set at 45 points or less. It's 4-2 when the total closes between 44 and 47 points, and 7-4-1 when both teams allow less than 19 points per game. These are two outstanding defenses in terms of limiting the opposition, putting points on the board. And so again, it actually goes over when you have two better defenses facing each other when you get deep into the postseason like this. In terms of what we're going to play on this game, some recommended bets that we have for you, I actually think that Green Bay can hang in here. I kind of sense that they are going to cover the spread in this game, but I do not see a scenario in which number 1 seed San Francisco at home with this defensive line, the way that they run the football, the way that Kyle Shanahan calls plays, I believe that the Niners are going to win this game, but it won't be a blowout. So I'm going to actually try to maximize my payout. I'm going to go over to FanDuel, crossingbroad.com/FD. Get FanDuel Sportsbook. Take the Niners to win by 1 to 13 points plus 140 payout. I also like the over in this contest. I can get it over 45 with FoxBet, crossingbroad.com/FB. And at FoxBet, I also like George Kittle to score. He had 6 catches for 129 yards and a score in the first meeting between these two teams. He's only scored 1 touchdown over his last 4 games. They tried to get him in against the Vikings, couldn't do it. I think he's successful this time. You can cash a plus 120 payout on George Kittle to reach the end zone. So again, over 45 is our primary play. Like the 49ers to win the game. Would take the Packers to cover, but we really do like getting the 49ers 1 to 13 points with the plus 140 payout over at FanDuel. All right, we have the number 6 seed Cinderella story Tennessee Titans, the number 2 seed Kansas City Chiefs, Arrowhead, Sunday afternoon. What do you need to know about this Tennessee Titans team? It's all about Derrick Henry. The last 3 games, 96 carries, 588 yards, 5 touchdowns. He has been outrageous, a historic performance. I'll tell you what, though, don't sleep on the quarterback of the Titans. Though he hasn't had to put the ball in the air too much through the first 2 playoff games, the Titans are 9-3 in his starts, and he was also the NFL's highest-rated passer once he became the Titans starter. Also know, from a historical standpoint, that wildcard teams are 3-6 in the conference championship round. Number 6 seeds specifically are 2-3 straight up. So this has happened before. It would not be unprecedented if the Titans were to go into Arrowhead Stadium and get a win. But this is an explosive Chiefs team. You saw it. They fell behind 24-0 in the first quarter, and they made it up in about 4 minutes last Sunday. So can they keep things going riding into this game? Something to know. Number 2 seeds, not great in conference championship games. Only 7-14 overall, 3-5 when they are at home. So it's not just because they're playing a 1 seed on the road. They have just not been successful really in any situation. Andy Reid, Speaking of not being successful, 1-5 straight up in conference championship games. That includes last year's loss to the Patriots at home. So can Andy Reid finally break through and get back to the Super Bowl for the first time since the 04 season? We'll see. Finally, we talked about the Chiefs being an explosive offense. They were the first team to score 50-plus points in the postseason since the 09 season. Only 2 teams have done this going all the way back to 2003. In terms of the odds coming into this game, Kansas City opened as a 7.5-point favorite. As we record, they remain a 7.5-point favorite at DraftKings Sportsbook. Take a look at the money line, minus 345 on a Chiefs win. Over-under set at 52.5 points. If you like the Titans to pull off a third straight stunner on the road, plus 290 is the money line payout there. All right, so let's take a look at some of the historical betting trends ahead of this football game. We talked about how number 2 seeds tend to struggle in conference championship games, going only 7-14. They are, however, slightly better ATS, going 10-11 against the spread, including, as you can see up here, 3-5 ATS at home. Meanwhile, wildcard teams 3-6 against the spread in the conference championship round. Road dogs of 7+ points are 27-15-1 ATS after the wild card round, 6-2 ATS in conference championship games. So that points to a play on the Titans. Also, take a look at this. Conference championship game underdogs are 3-0 ATS after winning their previous game by at least 15 points. Now, obviously, both of these 2 teams won by at least 15 points in the divisional round, but again, this is about conference championship game underdogs. So again, this points to the Titans. In terms of the total, I love the under in this game. Total set at 52.5 here at midweek as we record. The under burned me in the Chiefs game last week. In fact, it was over by halftime, but I am coming right back at it. And here's why. The under is 11-4-2 in open air postseason games when the total is set at least 51 points. 3-1-1 in the conference championship round or later. So when we have outdoor games, high totals late in the postseason, the under has been extremely successful going back to the 2003 season, and it's also very successful in Andy Reid home games. All right, and that goes back to his time even with the Eagles. Take a look up here. Under is 36-24 in Reid coach games at Arrowhead Stadium, including 16-8 in December or later. It's also 9-2-1 in Reid's home playoff games going back to the 03 season. I am on the under, and I'm on it with some conviction. Now, in terms of some recommended bets, things that I'm going to play in this game, you saw the Chiefs fall behind early against the Texans. I think we're going to see quite the opposite here. I think there'll be a focus on a quick start. I like the Chiefs to be winning at the end of the first quarter, so that's minus 1/2 point, minus 130, so it's going to cost you a little bit, but I really do think they're going to come out firing in this game. I can get that at DraftKings, crossingbroad.com/DK. Fox Bet is where I'm taking the under at 52.5. That's crossingbroad.com/FB. And then I also like the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. How's that for a recommended bet? Right now, they are the odds-on favorite to win it all, plus 135. I can get that at DraftKings Sportsbook. I believe that they are going to beat the Titans and stop the Cinderella run, and I also think they're going to come back as a favorite in the Super Bowl, probably against the 49ers, and Andy Reid is finally going to get his first championship. So for me, I like the under, and I like the Chiefs to win it all. These are my 2 primary plays heading into the AFC Championship game. So once again, if you are looking to bet on the conference championship round action, head over to crossingbroad.com. Be sure to check out all of our great content. We have videos, we have in-depth previews of both football games, but also head over to crossingbroad.com/DK. Get DraftKings Sportsbook, $500 risk-free first bet and up to $500 deposit match for new users. Also, be sure to check out Fox Bet, crossingbroad.com/FB. They'll give you $20 just for signing up and up to $100 in a first deposit match. All right, so those are our picks for Conference Championship Weekend. Who do you like? Leave a comment below. Also, be sure to like and subscribe to our videos. And be sure to check out crossingbroad.com for all the latest betting advice articles on all of the most important sporting events.